They are probably, you know, compared to many of you out there, fairly advanced in their application of cloud technology. So it'd be good to see what they're also now thinking about for the future. And then we're going to have the big discussion. We're going to talk about, you know, CCH's iFirm platform compared to WorkflowMax and the pros and the cons, and that'll be terrific. The three of us are also then going to talk about growth strategies that work. So we're going to talk about cloud growth strategies that work, and then growth strategies in general, because I think every firm out there is always wanting to learn about how else to grow. And then, of course, towards the end, we'll talk about what are your options. You know, do you go it alone? Do you look for someone like us in terms of a support capability to help you, or you know, what's the best way to do that? And then, of course, some final additional advice from us on you know, lessons learned and what not to do and how to do it differently if you have your time over. So let's get right into it. The first thing I'm going to do here is just acknowledge our two special guests. Both of these people are not in accounting firms right next door. They've made substantial sacrifices today to come over to our studio to help to participate in this event. So I'd just like to thank Phillip Efthimiou and Jamie Johns, Phillip from PWK Accounting Group and Jamie from Sky Accounting Solutions. And because there are, you know, 300 odd of you out there, we'll all now do the clap. You won't necessarily hear all of us right around Australia and New Zealand that are listening and watching today, but we thank you so much for your time, because the insights that you've now got really are valuable to our listeners, our watchers today, our viewers today. So thanks so much for joining us. And I will move straight into two key points. If we've got the screen, have we got any screen activity there as well? Thanks, Amir. Phillip, for those of you that may be interested, you can simply email us a request. If you have never seen this before, Phillip very kindly helped us to put together a bit of a documentary of the journey that he's been through over the last couple of years, and it's up on screen now. There's a fantastic 7-minute video which really talks about Phillip's experiences from August 2012 through to May 2013, and it's quite insightful. And at the end of that video, Phillip's grinning from ear to ear because of looking back at his journey and what he's achieved. Both Phillip and Jamie have, they're not, you know, just two ring-ins off the street. These guys are serious players now in the accounting profession. They've both won awards in the Best Practice program. These awards were presented at the National Awards ceremony in January. And to give you an example of how well regarded these firms are, you know, Jamie's the local Ballarat newspaper has got a readership of something like 155,000. Was excited to write and produce an article on Jamie and his firm, being a local accounting firm. So, you know, great PR, and these are the sorts of accolades and recognition that any accountant out there can aspire to achieving if they just get started, if they just take themselves seriously and get off the cheese wheel and make a mental decision that it can potentially evolve into something better. So well done to Phillip and Jamie being national award winners in the Best Practice program. Okay, so here we go. A little reminder, the last session about a year ago, we ran a 1-hour overview on how to go to the cloud without turning your practice upside down. And it's really a starting point. It's just an overview. Today we're going to talk on a more progressive level, if you like. So you may want to see that first chapter in this series from a year ago, and if you want access to that, you've only got to email the team, and the team will sort that out at team@bestpractice.com.au. And in the meantime, let's get on with the main event. So what is the cloud? What is the cloud? And I'm going to give Jamie and Phillip their own version of this, because you see, it doesn't matter what your own philosophy is about the cloud. You don't have to be technically correct. It's whether or not you're embracing it philosophically in your own mindset that you can actually turn it into an opportunity, or whether you're struggling with that. So Jamie and Phillip, just if you don't mind sharing with us your own version, you know, completely unrehearsed, as you know. I mean, what is your version of the cloud? What does it mean to you?
Okay. Well, the cloud, I think for me is just a one sweet solution up in the internet. Having access to our practice management systems, our ledger, our tax, and slowly moving to having all our documents in the cloud, in the internet. And it's basically just storage up in the internet. But what it allows us to do is access everything we need within our practice and our firm remotely. No logins. It's just purely internet based. It's created a lot of efficiencies. So for me, the cloud is where everything is moving to, and we've definitely embraced it.
Yeah, thank you. Fantastic. Yeah, Jamie?
Yeah, for us, probably a couple of years ago, we stood back and looked at strategically where we want to be placed, and we had the goal of expanding like different geographical locations. So we stood back and said, okay, how are we going to achieve that efficiently as we could? So our first step was really to move our own business with what we do internally to the cloud. So that's all our practice management software and everything revolving around that. And then the second step was to move all our clients to the cloud as well. So out of that, we sort of took on board new client criteria, and so we don't accept any clients now unless they're basically on zero for us. That was what we chose. So it was really a strategic decision at the end of the day, John, and to basically standardise the back of house. So if we standardised the back of house, it just meant everything else would flow from that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And so you're not only taking on clients after they've chosen zero, you're actually helping them move to zero, aren't you? You're not so that means that really the client market is the whole world is your oyster, because you're helping them transition across.
Yeah. So existing clients, we make a big push to move them to zero, and we do that with incentives and various ways and means. But any new clients that come on board, we just say, look, if you want to join Sky, you've got to be on zero.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, guys. And what I thought I'd do is I'd share with you the weirdest definition, so says the highest authority on the cloud. You see, I personally, for us out there, I encourage you to take Jamie and Philip's view, but here is what the US Department of Commerce came up with, right, with some help from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. After 15 drafts in 2011, in their own words, if we go on here to the slides, cloud computing is a model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. So you take all the big words out of that, there's something right in the middle that says a shared pool, resources, rapidly provisioned, minimal management, and less effort, right? So in other words, what Jamie and Phil, really were talking about a moment ago is that that they're seeing opportunity to become more efficient and future-proof as well. I think that's the key, isn't it? Preparing yourselves for the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So why should accountants consider the cloud? I've just got a couple of basic pros and cons up here. And I'd like to get Jamie and Philip to share, when they have a look at this list, how many of these have really stand out for you in terms of when you look. Let's look at the negatives first. I think let's do what accountants would love to do, is mitigate a few risks and identify the negatives and understand them. The cons, obviously, security and privacy fears. Con number one. Jamie and Phil, how do you feel about that issue?
I'm very comfortable with it. I mean, I was grappling with that for a couple of years prior to going to the cloud, but I'm very, very comfortable with it. We've spoken to, like, we're using CCH. We've spoken to CCH about the security issues, and we know that their servers are New Zealand, Queensland, and somewhere else. So they're backed up 3 or 4 times over. But likewise, we also have a backup plan where we actually store our tax returns, financials, which are in the cloud, on our server as well. But I'm very, very comfortable with it.
So is it more that it was an initial mindset change?
It was a mindset change, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot gets talked about the security side of it. But if you actually talk to your service provider, that's the best way to start, so they can alleviate any fears, how your documents are stored, and we were very comfortable that it gets backed up 2 or 3 times. Even overnight, if the server goes down, it's literally back up. You won't even realise it because it's back up within 5 seconds, and you really don't realise it. So yeah, we're happy with it.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Jamie, the next bullet point I've got here is still no guaranteed no glitch reality. So, you know, Gmail a couple of years ago, you may recall, Gmail in the States actually went down and people lost their contact records and stuff like that. It hasn't gone down since, but it can happen. How do you feel about that sort of risk?
Yeah, look, we've got, say, clients, for example, on Xero, and then they're on, you know, one of Xero add-ons, third-party applications, and from time to time, you'll come across glitches where the third-party application or the add-on, if you like, might change something, and then that might affect, you know, the communication with Xero. So we've been there and done that, and basically, you've just got to pick up the phone and see what's going on, and making sure that, you know, both the software providers are aware of the glitch. So you just need to take a proactive role in listening to the client if there's something not working there in terms of the glitches, because 9 times out of 10 they're aware of it, and in our experience the last couple of years it'll be fixed. It's normally fixed within 24 to 48 hours. So, you know, we've had that glitch experience happen, particularly with you know, third-party add-ons. So it does happen. So that's the reality. In saying that, we've all had glitches in our software that gets released on a CD-ROM, and then, you know, you got to download a pack. So, you know, it's probably just faster being fixed in the cloud, perhaps than the traditional method.
The next bullet point I've got here under the cons is that 2 points of technical risk being the provider, and, you know, so whether it's CCH or WorkflowMax or whoever the provider is, plus the internet connection to your own site. Yeah, that's 2 points of that could be a failure position. But is it fair to say that really the way the internet has become so significant in everyday life now, you know, that we just don't see enough of that? There's not enough regular outages that this really is an issue anymore. You know, isn't it really a bit like, you know, 15 years ago when internet banking was first rolling out and people were saying, well, I'm not going to do that. You know, well, that was then. You know, I think it's fair to say now, guys, isn't it, that the technical risk now is so minimal because it's now so well established that it's, you know, it's almost a fear of the past instead of an actual account of the present. Is that reasonable?
I agree.
Yeah. What about this other myth that, you know, I've got on the list of cons, you know, that traditional IT support firms are not involved and so they're not supporting you. You know, the old IT guy down the road is no longer the cloud specialist, obviously, you know, because they're almost being bypassed. And so they don't really have a role to play. How have you found moving away from being so reliant on a local IT provider that, you know, do they still have a role to play? And is it, you know, is it still okay? And you know, or do you struggle to then have to learn how to be technical yourselves?
It's a great question. Well, firstly, it's probably saved me over $10,000 a year.
Wow.
We used to have, by using servers and upgrading servers, we used to have our IT guy literally in the office 2-3 times a week, upgrading software, fixing up the glitches, and we used to pay him, you know, $200 a week. We don't have that anymore. We've actually found the transition really smooth because the technical support side of, say, CCH, iFirm, or any cloud software provider is that they have a massive back end, and they fix things up straight away. If you need technical support, we call them, and they attend to things like they know they're ready for your call. They attend to things straight away. So we actually haven't missed our IT guy. We do have a guy, but on an on needs basis, and it might cost us $1,000 to $2,000 a year, if that. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Great, John.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same experience as Phil. Our hardware costs have just gone down because, you know, every couple of years you'd be upgrading your hardware just to cope with the new release of the software, like the new release of whatever product it was. So we've just stopped basically upgrading that. You know, we've been to clients' premises where particular software won't work because it doesn't fit the specs. as soon as you move to a cloud product, it doesn't matter as long as you've got the internet and a browser, it works.
Yeah.
So it's not only, as Phil said, your in-house costs of hardware go down, and also your local IT guy. It's also the client's costs go down because they have to upgrade their own software then.
Yeah. Not to mention all of the software upgrades that Microsoft themselves used to put us all through on Exchange Server and things like that. You know? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. This is an interesting myth, this one, that SMEs lose a trusted point of contact on a local level. Now, is that really something that you're seeing?
In terms of computer support?
Yeah, well, because they go, you know, their stuff's in the cloud, you're in the cloud. I think people are fearing that everything's going offshore.
Yeah, look, I think from my point of view, I think it's a great opportunity. I think every accountant should embrace the cloud. Why? Because it should bring more interaction with your client. Because you have access to their data. It's at your fingertips. If you're conscious enough to be looking at their data and then picking up the phone and talking to them, your communication should increase with your client. The offshore stuff, well, you know, that's another issue, but the cloud can definitely, you can counteract that based on your relationship with your client because you can do more for them now.
One of the things that a lot of accountants have said to me is that they feel that it's impossible to keep up with all of the cloud options and opportunities and you know which ones to focus on first and also run their business at the same time. You know, how do you feel about that?
You know, basically how we've tackled that is like I mentioned earlier, like we've just chosen one platform that we're going to work off. The second point is you do have to invest in your staff. So, you know, we've got a full-time sort of cloud bookkeeper and then another girl like a cloud specialist. So you really need to invest in their training and in the staff to embrace this new technology because it is changing so fast. The only other bit of advice I can give to accountants is maybe choose an industry like a vertical that you want to specialise in. So, you know, with hospitality, for example, there's umpteen different, you know, add-ons or third-party programs that you can use, you know, point of sale, rostering programs, booking programs, and they're all based in the cloud and they all interact with, you know, in our case Xero, but so yeah, invest in it because that's coming.
And I think, look, your foundation, when Phillip and Jamie know this terminology well, we talk about 80% of what you can do can be done by someone else in your accounting firm 100% of the time. And so we've been on this path for a while now. Phillip is perhaps a bit more recent in that regard. So I'm particularly interested in your perspective on this one, Phillip, about, you know, can you keep up with everything and run the practice?
Yeah, it's a great question, John, and it's something that all accountants will probably be wondering or asking themselves the same question, because we did a couple of years back. But I took some time out to really invest in almost as accountants do, did a whole spreadsheet of all the different providers, everyone that I could imagine. You know, we went Handy Ledger, we looked at MIB Accountants Office, Accountants Enterprise, APS, the whole kit caboodle. And you need to invest some time, but you need to look at what is going to suit your needs. But yes, I won't lie, you need to invest the time in that. But investing in that time, and that's why I use the word invest, because you're going to get such a big return out of making the right decision.
Yeah.
But yes, you need to. It can be a bit daunting, but at the end of the day, once you've picked the software, you still continue to see what's out in the marketplace, but just really maximise your use in your software, your cloud-based software.
And is there some real sage advice in Jamie's concept of, you know, pick something that you know, and don't be overwhelmed with everything. Yeah. Just recognise what's going to work for you and start there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't do everything. Start there.
Because these software companies, I mean, they're all great and they've all got something to offer, but their marketing, you know, when you get marketed, the advantages of using their software can become very overwhelming, and it's like a minefield. You don't know what to choose. Yeah. And I think you're right, John. Just start with what you do have and look at where your service provider is going. So ask them the hard questions. Where are you going? What's on the go for the future? How can you suit our firm? Are you going into the cloud? this is what we want to achieve. Will your software fit our strategy? And then slowly, move forward.
That's right.
Yeah, great. That's terrific. And actually, before I forget, I should forewarn all of our listeners that that later on, before we wrap up this session, that Jamie is going to talk about a concept that he and I have been throwing around, where we might even be able to access Jamie's accounting firm to help other accountants out there to, actually go to the cloud. So that's a really interesting concept that Jamie and his team have been thinking about. So, all right, so let's move into the no-brainers. Okay, the no-brainers on the radar of everybody at the moment are, Xero or WorkflowMax and CCH or the iFirm. Okay, now these are the two that really, I think it's fair to say Handysoft and MyOb right now have got great market share. They'll continue to maintain great market share. They are, they're icon brands and they're icon historical sort of legacies in terms of the industry. And they're still great products in their own right. But what happens is sometimes you see the product life cycle, don't you? And in a product life cycle, if you do any MBA or, the first thing they teach you is that a product will go through a maturity and potentially go into decline. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the insights about both WorkflowMax or Xero and CCH and the iFirm. Okay, so from your perspective, what are the strengths of the products that you're running your practices on?
Yeah, all right. Well, the strengths I believe in iFirm is first and foremost it's accessible anywhere. So it's in the cloud, but it's easy to use. We find that it's very easy to use for my practice. It has the cloud-based ledger within. They're releasing their cloud-based tax in July. It has an intranet within. It has a document management system within it. But the really big strength is that with iFirm, which is now CCH, we get access to IntelliConnect, which is the master tax guide really in the cloud. A whole range of through CCH articles and tax for our tax advisory, and the reports it can give us, just accessible anywhere, anytime. It's just a one-suite solution. There's so many add-ons that I believe iFirm has got through CCH. That is pretty much, we don't have to look elsewhere. Yeah. It works really well.
Great, thank you. Jamie?
Yeah, John, we use WorkflowMax, which is about to become Xero Practice Studio. So similar to Phil, it's all cloud-based, anywhere, anytime. That really helps with us, but obviously with two offices. We can keep an eye on what's going on pretty much anywhere. For us, I guess WorkflowMax, our firm basically sells products, so we basically productise everything. So with WorkflowMax, you can sort of pump out half a dozen proposals in 20 minutes. So it works really well for us in terms of that sales process, and we can get back to the client really quickly with pre-formatted scopes of works and what we need to do. So similar to Phil, Xero have said at their roadshow they're bringing out their tax for 2013 and 14 in June. So then that's just another hammer in the nail on the server in terms of getting rid of the server. And then of course you've got BGL, the Simple Fund, moving to the cloud as well. So our goal is really to get rid of that server, and we also use SharePoint, which is the cloud Microsoft product. And we also looked at Google Docs for a while, and so we did that investment and that experiment to see what worked for us. But similar experience to Phil. It's just the power of the cloud itself, whatever platform you go to, but it's really what works for you. And I think you've got to think about your business model. So whether you're a fixed pricing or whether you're time billing, it really doesn't matter with WorkflowMax, and it's probably a similar experience with CCH iFirm. Yeah. So it's just what works for you, what's quick, what's efficient, and I think what suits your business model, and that was the decision for us, because we could sort of quickly productise everything we do, and it allows you to do that.
Yeah, right. Fantastic. And before I forget to, for our viewers out there, I just wanted to acknowledge Adam from GM of the accounting division of MYOB for for Australia and New Zealand, who's personally invited me to spend some time with him and with the MYOB tech team as well, which I'm looking forward to because that'll give me a chance to report back on an MYOB perspective as well in terms of their intentions and where they're going. Now, in terms of where you were beforehand, what software were you running before you made these decisions?
Geez, I was using Rickon Elite.
Yes.
Rickon Elite, and it was all, we really struggled with Rickon Elite. I mean, it's really simple and easy to use, but we really struggled with the upgrades. Continuous upgrades on the server. Even we thought, okay, maybe our server's the issue. We upgraded our server, and again, crashes, issues. We would have a lot of downtime. The team would come in the morning, and the first thing I would say is Elite's down. But I don't think Elite was the problem. I think it's just any desktop. When you put in so much data on every computer on a server, you're going to have those issues. So we were using Elite, and we needed another solution. Yeah.
So what I really heard you say is that that type of application was forcing you to maintain a heavier IT running cost, and was fraught with the danger of needing local network management, local upgrades and management of that, which is time intensive as well for you.
Yeah, absolutely, John. There was not only the IT cost, but it was the downtime. Yeah. If it goes down, it could be down for an hour. Now, if you multiply an hour by, I've got 5 team members and myself, so multiply an hour by 6 people at their hourly rate, you're losing thousands of dollars, and low productivity. Work doesn't get done. It's like a domino effect. Everything just keeps falling behind.
So how much downtime have you had after moving over to CCH?
We have had downtime, minimal.
Yeah.
The first thing we do is we call up tech support and it's up, like maybe 5 minutes and it's up. But as you said, John, in your earlier statement about the internet, as that's evolved a lot more, we haven't had downtime in well over 6 months.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everyone just comes in the morning, logs in, and I've not heard one team member complain about any downtime.
So it was really only teething problems in terms of downtime, and nowhere near as much as the ongoing downtime that you had in the old model.
Nowhere near it. Nowhere near it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jane?
Yeah, look, John, we ran MYOB accountants next generation, or AO. The other office uses the old classic, which is phased out this June, so you can't use that going any further. We also use for our we use BGL Simple Fund, but we've had that for quite a few years, and that's just going to Simple Fund 360, I think, as we speak. So they were the platforms that we're on. In terms of WorkflowMax and the downtime, I can't remember any downtime where the software hasn't worked or had a glitch. I can't remember any downtime. We've been on that for sort of a couple of years now. And so, yeah, it's just a better experience. And the only downtime you might have is when your internet's actually down.
Yeah.
But over 365 days in a year, it's not very often.
Now, I think this is a critical point. I mean, both of you are saying that virtually no issues, but for both of you in the last 6 months, and very few since moving over. So, for our viewers out there, this is an important insight, because stop thinking about the fears of the past, that the internet and the risks and the connectivity and all these things. That's almost pre-2005.
Yeah.
That's 8 years ago.
I think it's like you mentioned earlier, internet banking. This cloud accounting and electronic commerce and all these, it's probably similar to that where internet banking was 10 years ago, and everyone said, I'm not touching that. And now everyone's just every day on their phone checking their bank account.
Correct.
So it's just a matter of embracing it when the timing's right.
Yeah, exactly. Well done, guys. Let's move on to a couple of other topics that I've got keen to hear your commentary on these. The secure file transfer, the client vault. What we're being told is that on a regulatory level, that it's either going to be or is close to being legal now to email a tax file number out of the accounting office to a client. And in fact, that documents that have tax file numbers on them really should be set up in Dropbox or a secure file transfer. No, there's no rights or wrongs in terms of when you do it. But have you guys looked into that at all? Have you been thinking about it?
Yeah, well, yeah, we do that. For a fair while now, we've used CCH, and they have a secure sort of file transfer. So we basically drop all the financials and tax returns into that box or secure area. And 95% of our clients just want PDFs. Yeah. So they're if they're at the bank, if they're at Centrelink, they can just log in and grab it. In terms of the security, well, we rely on CCH, iFirm, or CCH website security to do that. So probably have to ask them more about that. But,
right.
But it's probably more secure than what you mentioned, like sending an email.
Well, it's so easy to accidentally type in the wrong John Peterson, or or think you've done it right, and you've got multiple Johns in your Outlook profile, and absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with Jamie. We use Dropbox, and even this morning we had a client that needs to get across an MIB file, and they said, "Oh, we'll email it," and I said, "No, we created a folder on our Dropbox. We shared the folder with them, and in 2 minutes flat was up." Yeah. With all the documents. So, but we're also looking at, we're just in the process of moving to our website to CCH. Yeah. It does have a secure client login that we will, from 1st of July, be notifying our clients that all the documents would be stored in there. They'll have their own secure password that they can log in and download it. It'll be there for them anytime.
Yeah. Look, that's great insight. And I just want to point out to our viewers that not long ago in this session, both Jamie and Philip were saying, just be comfortable to start using what works for you. And despite the fact that Philip's using CCH on an operational level for his accounting firm, he was quite comfortably and successfully using Dropbox at this point. Jamie's using WorkflowMax for the practice, but then using the secure file transfer of CCH. So that it just shows you that these things really are, plug and play. You can pick up and put down the ones that you want to use, and I think that's a great example. In terms of outsourcing, have either of you guys done any outsourcing at this point?
We've contemplated it, not currently, but we have seriously considered outsourcing from today onwards. We've got the right team on board now that can manage this side of the business up until now, but because we're getting a fair bit of growth, all that will be outsourced. We've got that in our engagement letters. We talk to our clients about it, so we're very open about it. Yeah. We have in the past spoken to some outsourcing companies, so they're the more reputable ones, and we're very comfortable. We've done a couple of trials with them, and we're very comfortable with what they've provided to us and the confidentiality agreements that are in place. So we will be outsourcing, no doubt.
Yeah. John, we tried, we did some, some testing of that with a firm via Sri Lanka. So we did a little bit of that, only in terms of bookkeeping, not in terms of the tax preparation, that type of thing. But what happened with us is the bookkeeping got too much, basically. So we actually hired all Sri Lankan here in Australia. Obviously not the same cost structure. But so we took it back in-house because it just got so much. It just grew. So it just made sense to us to have someone more that we could go and speak to.
Dedicated resource.
Yeah. So we did test it, and it probably, obviously it works for a lot of firms. Yeah. But just with us, because it grew so much, we just wanted someone hands-on here, and as I said earlier, we've got like a full-time sort of cloud person, and it's just directly hands-on with the clients, and it's just I think it's really a big opportunity, that bookkeeping space for accountants. I think it's it's probably, what do you say, gold in the own backyard. Correct. So we just package that up, fixed it, and easy debit, and away you roll.
Yeah, and look, I know many of you out there, outsourcing would be equally as a hot topic as this particular agenda today. We've got some good news for you. Yesterday up in Brisbane, before heading back after delivering our program up there, we've captured an interview with somebody who's intensively outsourcing as a sole practitioner. So that's going to be a great interview when we put that out to you in maybe a couple of weeks' time. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Bookkeeping, management accounting, virtual CFO. I loosely bundle them all together. You've already almost laid your cards out, Jamie, and said you believe in it. How much do the two of you believe in that concept, that whole vertical, because of cloud accounting and cloud bookkeeping?
Yes. Look, we're fairly heavily in that space, John. In terms of the bookkeeping, I mean, to help maybe other accountants, we have a sort of a low package or a low entry level where we just offer the bookkeeping, and the badge preparation. Then we just customise those packages right through to virtual CFO to the extent where we do everything. We pay their bills, debtors, creditors, the whole works. So, and also the monthly management reports. So that's your sort of virtual CFO. You can do it all with, we use Xero, for example. We use programs like Receipt Bank, which people need to have a look at. There's other ones like Shoebox. There's a whole heap of other little add-ons that make that job possible to be a virtual CFO, and it's all in the cloud. It's anywhere. So we've got clients who spend 6 months overseas and they can still see how their sales are going for that day in an instant. So so it's right from the very simple right through to the more complicated, and you just use the programs that you need to do that.
Fantastic. Cool.
Yeah, likewise. Like Jamie, we're very big in that space. If anything, it'll be our sole focus come 1st of July. We've got a few consulting clients, we've got a couple of virtual CFO clients, and through Xero, it's just allowed us to become a trusted advisor. It's allowed us to add more value to their business, to their mindset. Having figures up to date is great, because we can, as Jamie said, monthly management reports, sit them down, let's see where you're tracking, are we on track with the targets that we set? Yes, great. If no, why not? Really drill down into their mindset and get them to thinking about their business. So, moving to that virtual CFO type role is moving to a trusted advisor status, which is what we should be doing rather than solely compliance.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity, and we're right behind.
Fantastic. And watch this space, viewers, because some of our members, like Jamie and Phillip, are getting their hands on some really new cash management, cash momentum technology at the moment in an early pilot. So future reports on that in a couple of months' time. What about Google? How important is Google now, and how important is Google for every accountant in terms of being found, being recognised? Because I think Yellow Pages is not what it once was, and we all know that. What would you say about that?
Look, we've sort of taken a conscious strategy to work with Google and internet SEO the last 2 or 3 years. It takes a while. It takes a while to get your head around how it works and to get results. And you don't want to give up on that. So you've got to get external people to help you and have the time to work on your business in that sense with Google. So for us, it's critical now. We get more leads from Google almost from referrals now. I know John's spoken about Google AdWords, so we're heavily into that. And also just having your Google Maps and your SEO up to speed as well. And I think the other thing is too, the first point is get people to your website. The second point is, get some videos, get some verbal or audio testimonials up on your website, and build that rapport, build that trust, and get that that makes the prospects call in. So
yeah. And Phillip, you've had some really explosive sort of organic growth and transitioning of old clients and getting some new ones in, and so you've probably been less reliant on Google.
Yeah, exactly, John. Not reliant on Google at all to this day. We understand that as an evolving practice and the way the world is moving with the cloud and outsourcing, where the profession is going, and young generations coming through, young business people coming through. We can't solely rely on our legacy clients. We have to understand that the young generation of business clients and clients in general use Google. They're on smartphones. They're on. They will Google you before they even look at you. Before they even call you, they will Google. Accountants in Bentley or accountants in property, whatever it is, and they will make contact with you once they found you on Google. And this is the way I understand it. It's taken me a long time to get my head around it, but we understand now that the way the younger generation, even sort of the older generation, do business and when they want to find you is through Google. And we've had 3 or 4 new clients in the last couple of months through Google, because they've told us, and I would look, the receptionist would make a time for this client to come in. I'll have a look at the name. They're not one of our clients. How did they find us? We said we Googled you.
Yeah, right.
Then we got onto your website. We had a look at your website. We liked what we saw. We made an appointment. Yeah. So it's very important moving forward, and we're going to start becoming very active in that space in the next few months.
I want to just make a couple of statements about social media, because I want to move you guys on to some really hot topics in terms of getting your opinions on those. Many accountants are nervous, anxious even, about their lack of presence in use of social media, and it's the new low-hanging fruit from a dodgy marketing point of view. They're getting pounded. Accountants are getting pounded across Australia there with emails like your website doesn't rank on, you need some SEO, which is often like a templated spam email, right, from offshore. But the big one that they don't understand the most, is social media and what to do with it. I personally believe it's an important part of the accounting marketing strategy, but I don't see it as being more important than first getting your website right and having a well productized service offering through your website that can actually be found on Google. Would you agree with that?
I would. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yes. I find that, look, we haven't done much. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, but I haven't done much by way of social media yet. Yeah. It's on the cards. There's a lot of things that are on the cards that all of us need to pencil in. But I haven't done much. I've really concentrated on adding more value to my clients, building up those relationships, getting them onto cloud-based software so we can create more efficiencies for them. As Jamie said before, their costs reduce, so we become the trusted advisor. And we're basically building blocks. We will get to the social media space very, very soon, because I think it is important. But we haven't panicked or stressed about not being a presence on social media. Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that, because one of our members, in fact, phoned me up one day, or phoned our office and said, that Census, that Yellow Pages, had pitched to them a social media package, and it was as much as $800 a month to manage social media. And I'm looking at that. That's a massive cost. Jamie would know the value of that from a Google marketing point of view rather than on social media. So, I think it's important for our listeners and viewers out there to be reassured by what you're saying, is that yes, you should get around to it, but not at the, it's not, to go to the common sense things first.
Absolutely. Yeah. Get your foundations right first. I think the cloud and outsourcing are probably the biggest things that you should focus on, getting your practice management systems right, getting your efficiencies right. And then once you've got that, and as you say, John, all the time, it's all about laying the foundations, getting your in-house right first. And then they're just things that you build on.
Because once you've got a great young team, how much easier would it be anyway to say to them, righto, well, let's get into Facebook now, because the younger team members in your organisation can actually do that for you, okay?
And one thing we've focused on is, we know we're going to get to that soon, but we're focusing on, as you've said, John, all along, is that the team, getting the team right, the right team in the right positions, doing the right things. Once you get that, you will be so freed up through that and your efficiencies to then concentrate on those higher end projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, both of you enjoy the innovation side of what you now gets a little bit of time to yourselves to do, which is historically you wouldn't have been able to do until you got your businesses properly structured. What are everyone wants to know, what are the brand new cloud opportunities that you may not yet be implementing, but you're already starting to look at with interest, and what's fascinating you guys on behalf of your accounting practice for the future?
Yeah, I think with us is probably systematising the bookkeeping packages and the virtual CFO side of it. It's more high volume, transactional, and the less that the senior staff and myself can be involved in terms of the marketing and sales process, the better.
Yes.
So I think there's a real opportunity there to systematise that side of it, John. Whereas the consultancy side, the higher end, the more value side, that's where I want to be involved in, and the senior staff. So I think in the future, it's, if you can sort of automate the cookie cutter.
The 80%.
Yeah, the cookie cutter sort of side of some of your service offerings, and sort of make that more automated in all the process. Sign in, log up, here's your price. That's what's exciting to me. I think that's really the baseline compliance work, isn't it? Bookkeeping at the end of the day. So we just want that done, and let's get on to the high-end value work.
Absolutely,
Yeah, agreed with Jamie. It's the cloud has a lot of opportunities, and I think all accountants, for the last 30 years, we've all been so trained and drilled that all we need to be doing is compliance, when originally we're advisors. But the industry itself has forced us into being compliance accountants. But what the cloud will actually do, and what it's done for our firm, it's created a lot of opportunities. Opportunities, as James said, to automate, but also start packaging up services. Have more contact with your clients because you're monitoring them a lot closer. And obviously, as Jamie said, get to that higher end where you can become a business coach or consultant or an advisor for them, someone that they look up to and rely on, and say, well, you know what, I know Phil or Jamie is going to help us in our business. We're stuck, and we need some help and advice, and they'll always pick up the phone. At the moment, you get so many clients that just try and work things through themselves because they think, well, the accountant's too busy. I don't want to bother him. They're probably at 30 to 80% productivity. Returning a phone call is a struggle. With cloud will actually take the shackles off, I think, and get you to go out there and be more interactive with your clients and sell more services.
Yeah, so I think it's really encouraging. Too many of us out there, I witness this, too many accountants are worried about how many different cloud apps they should be implementing, whereas in fact, when I asked both of you about what's on the horizon for you, you talked about common sense business building for your own practice. You called, getting the foundation right, productizing the foundation, gold, silver, bronze pricing strategies, getting that right so that you've actually got more time and more ability to actually talk to clients, but because your core team can deliver, right? Yeah, well done. Okay, what are the growth strategies that have worked for you effectively for each of you in terms of looking back over the last 2 years? Is there any one strategy that you favour that for you has been a good growth strategy for your own practice?
Yeah, look, for us, I think the internet's been definitely very powerful. Just what Phil touched on before, I think there's a real change going on with a generational shift in sort of businesses and wealth from to the X gen, my gen, and the Y gen. So people are just getting on Google, and you've got to have a good face on the internet, basically. So we've had the comments time and time again. I liked your website, liked what I saw, and that's what we called. So ask your clients the question, ask your prospects the question, how they found you and why they found you. So you've got to test and measure, I think, your marketing, and so I think for us that's been a big thing. And not only that, is just having that meeting once a year with your client, face to face, a free meeting. How can we serve you better? And then basically we just recommend, so you need to do this, and this is what we recommend. You can sort of take it or leave it, but at least you've said what you think, and the client can act on it, or they don't have to. But at least you've been proactive and having that meeting after the tax is done, and even offering the meeting. So that's the other thing. So it's look for the gold in your own backyard, and then also be on the front foot with your marketing and do what works for you. So if a certain line of marketing, whether online or seminars, works for you, then I just sort of saturate what works.
Yeah, I think there's so many growth strategies out there and so much opportunity over and above compliance. It's really exciting. But for us, where we have seen a lot of growth in our firm is really looking beyond compliance. So what else can we really offer to our clients, and go out and talk to them, not be locked away in our offices, at our desks and chained chained to our desk in front of our computer is picking up the phone and going out and seeing a client, driving by the client's premises and seeing them, because every time you're out there and you're talking to them, it's not only just going out there and saying g'day with no agenda, but it's also talking to them about their business and how they can improve their business and how you can help them improve their business through the cloud, and clients get really amazed. So the amount of clients we get onto Xero, and obviously you charge for that, and so the subscriptions you get, and then what flows on is a bit of consulting work, maybe some lower end consulting work. That's how we started. Cash flows and budgets and projections, and then maybe some quarterly reviews. But now, it's amazing, because once you get the ball rolling, it's actually quite infectious as to you'll just continue, if you're freed up, to just go out and talk to your clients about how you can help them, and that's what it is, and you'll get a lot of growth.
Fantastic. So do it the easy way.
Easy way.
All right. Traditional. Get your practice running properly, so that you're freed up to get out there and have quality conversations.
Absolutely.
Rather than to go and quickly tick the boxes and leave the client as fast as you can because you're too busy.
Yeah, I think that's the key, John. Is that was get your house in order. If you can get your team behind you so that it frees up your time to actually do that, then you can really work on all these other things.
Yeah.
And it takes time. It does take time. So I know in the beginning it's a bit daunting. How am I going to do it? And for a lot of us, sometimes you got to take a good long hard look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I doing what I should be doing at my level? Is my team doing what they should be doing at their level? Do I have the right team to get me to that level? And sometimes you just got to make those hard decisions. And I know we did with your help, John, and I went through the same thing. And once you get that right, the opportunities are huge.
Yeah. It's funny, because my very next question was, given the journey that you've both been on, and not insignificant, really progressive journeys over the last few years, looking back and having your time over, if someone's out there doing it alone, or is wondering whether or not there's any value in getting support, whether it's myself, other programs out there like mine, getting some support compared to doing it on their own, what would you say about the journey and your advice on that?
Yeah, my advice is definitely get support, get a coach, get someone to help you, because in our personal situation, we couldn't have done it without support and seeking advice from you and whoever else. Like you need to be held accountable, and if you want to get from A to B, you need a bit of a push sometimes. So sometimes you've got to take a jump and build your wings, as they say, and we're used to doing that at Sky. But so definitely get out and have a crack and get support. Yeah, definitely get support.
Yeah. What's it like, Phillip, now compared to when you had the little office in Preston a few years ago, and and you were on your own, you're doing it your own way? What's it like compared to that now? Yeah,
look, it's great. I mean, having the support is amazing, and we can't do it alone. The accounting industry is evolving, and if you try to do it yourself or put your head in the sand, you're not going to go far. Compared to where I was in Preston, a one-man band, having a girl part-time and trying to do everything myself, I felt as if I was, in a straitjacket, and every day was a big frustration, because I had the vision of what I wanted to do. I just couldn't do it, because you get so confused with everything that's marketed to you, and you just need support there to say to you, this is how we're going to do it, so here, follow me, and we'll get you to where you want to get to, and we'll help and guide you every day, every week, every month, every year. So it's been a major transformation for me, the support, and I call it an investment. It is an investment, because you'll get back so much more.
Yeah.
Especially your headspace, you'll get that right. And then it's quite dangerous. It's quite amazing to see what you can achieve once you get your headspace wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Amir, can we go to the main screen now? Relating to that, we've got some live workshops coming up right across the country, and for those of you that might not be able to get to a capital city, there's also a broadcast webinar on the 1st of April. So on the screen now you will see on the 27th of March, which is I think Thursday next week, a big 6-hour workshop in Adelaide there's our normal program, our normal what's possible for an accounting firm out there, you know, the Discovery Workshop, which are CPD points as well. So you get your CPD points for attending either the webinar or live. You can see the dates there for Melbourne the 30th of April, Perth the 8th of April, Brisbane the 15th, Sydney the 23rd of April. So there's events right around the country this month. Why would you come to one of these events? And it's really, you know, coming back to Phillip and Jamie, what they're saying is that step one is we want to talk to you about helping you to clarify where you are now, where you really want to be in the future, and perhaps what's stopping you from getting there. And I think that, you know, Jamie, Phillip, at times there are roadblocks, aren't there, in terms of...
Always.
Yeah, but we don't always recognise them when we're on our own, do we? And sometimes that third-party conversation can really help to clarify what's actually stopping you from getting where you want to go. Yeah, what you will learn at a Discovery Workshop if you come along is on the screen now. It's, you know, how much untapped capacity exists in your current team, how to identify if you have the right people in the right seats on the bus, and how much growth potential your existing practice has. You know, both Phillip and Jamie have had fantastic organic growth for years on, you know, running now. And then, of course, maximising all the above without the risks of debt funding or buying fees, because it's easy to go and buy fees. And Jamie will tell you it's not all. And Phillip, you've both done an acquisition, you know. And if you could have the organic growth only that you need over an acquisition, you'd probably always go that way, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, correct. So. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. There's a couple of key slides. I'm quickly running through them here, so leave it up on the screen. Just remember that when it comes to the cloud, don't be overwhelmed with all the different things out there. Start with your master plan. And, you know, Phillip really stopped and really asked himself, what do I want to achieve with my practice software? And he studied them all. You know, slow down and, you know, don't be overwhelmed. Do a bit of research. Invest in yourself in doing that. You can really break it down to three areas. You've got a front office cloud capability for sales and marketing, you've got a middle office for productivity, and then you've got your back office for cost efficiencies and admin resources. So, you know, there's really three different ways to break it down and get started in the cloud as well, isn't there, in the front, middle and back office. Yeah. In terms of technology, there are so many things out there. These slides are appearing on your screen now. Obviously, will be part of the HD video we'll put through to you. It's a simple resource I'll put through to just show you where different resources are in the market and how they can help you. Okay, there's so many out there. This is, you know, this list could be updated every week. But here's some of the no-brainers. So think about coming along to a workshop with us in the next month. I'll be there in person, of course, and that's a good opportunity to challenge us. We thank you so much for your attendance today. We're just going to stay on the line now for the next 5 minutes in case any of you want to push through some questions to Jamie or Phillip, or myself if you like. Amir will be here to guide us, and if any questions come up, we'll be sitting through for the next just for the next 5 minutes. Albeit that we've gone overtime now in terms of our 1 hour session. So right now, if you go to the right hand side of your screen for GoToWebinar, there's a control panel, and if you open that up, you'll be able to see the questions box. You can go in there and type questions to us, and we've got one already coming in from Peter. Okay, well, I won't reveal surname. So Peter, and Peter's question is, how long, Jamie, did it take before you started making money on, feeling like you were productive? I think it is, right, from Peter, on using WorkflowMax when you moved over.
Well, pretty much instantly. Why? Because it forced us to productise our services. And when you productise your services, you need a platform to do that. So WorkflowMax was that for us. And it also sort of meant that, jobs had to have deadlines and goals for the team. So, everyone knew every day what we had to do to make that job profitable in terms of our business model. So, obviously there's an investment up front that you pay, but that would have paid for itself within a year. It's a paradigm shift in terms of how we use WorkflowMax from what we did previously. So you can certainly use WorkflowMax on time-based billing. You can still do it that way. So you've got to look at the time efficiencies. It's all the things that Phil and I sort of mentioned. Hardware, reduced ongoing IT costs. It just all adds up to a great outcome.
Got a great question here from Phillip.
there's another one
Yep.
from Francis.
Yep.
It says, Jamie, in moving clients to Xero, was there resistance from some? Did you lose many clients? Were any losses outweighed by the gains in new progressive clients?
Yep. Yeah, you will get pushback from some clients who have been on a particular platform for a long time, but you've really got to go through the cost benefit. And look, and there's some small clients where they mightn't see any benefit, or the benefit will be less than the cost. And you've really got to consider then with your strategic view, do they need to be part of your business? So you really got to go right to the line. And I wouldn't say that we're arrogant, but I know the guys at work would back me up on this. We've got a real vision and a business model, and it's real. I think you might have said one day, John, like business by design, not by default, and that's been thrown around the industry a fair bit. And so we really believe in that. Like, we want to have a business by design, and if clients want to be part of that, and you share the mission, vision, values, and the technology, and how you're going to deliver that mission, vision, and values as well, because you've got to deliver that. So we have a pretty serious and broad discussion about where the client fits into your business, and that's where it's at, and they may not want to be part of that.
Yeah, well done, Francis, because really the point is you don't want every client. You want the clients that you can serve the way you want to serve them, like Phillip spoke about, very productively, right? So that you can act. You've got to make money at the end of the day. You can't send yourself broke because clients want your help. It's
a great point. Yeah, we definitely, we talk about all the time at work. We do not want every client that walks in the door. So we have this client criteria, and if you want to be part of that, that's great. You gauge it. You might sort of come across a client that's got $10 million turnover with a industry house specific program, so you make that call at the time, obviously. So it's the old 80-20 rule, John. 80% it's going to fit with it, and 20% maybe not. And
it's not the clients we say yes to, it's the clients we are unable to say no to that actually cause us all our nightmares and kill our profit, don't they? Yeah. I've got one more for Phillip, a highly provocative question from Jeffrey. Phillip, given your success with Xero in terms of clients, do you regret being on CCH instead of WorkflowMax?
Interesting question.
Yeah, interesting question. No regrets, because, as I said during the webinar, I took the time to really assess and review each and every single software package out there, and I just felt a lot comfortable with CCH. So no, CCH works well with Xero as well. We have a little link in from CCH that takes us straight into Xero. Our invoicing out of CCH pushes straight into Xero. Yeah. So they are linked.
There's
probably not as well as,
yeah.
There's compatibility there. Probably not as well as maybe WorkflowMax, but in terms of a practice management system and where CCH is going, Jeff, no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
Because it suits our overall business model.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm hoping this is the Harron that I know very, very well. Got a question from Harron, who I think is one of our, it's our fantastic, successful sole practitioner up in Queensland. Can you get rid of your current practice software altogether once you've moved over to the cloud, or do you need both?
Do you want to answer that one first?
I can. Is that in terms of what they're currently using, scrapping that and moving on to something new? Yeah, easy. I would. Yeah, because we did that when we got off our practice management system off Elite. It was Eclipse back then. Helped us export all our clients out of Elite straight into, and I'm sure WorkflowMax does the same, straight into Eclipse iFirm back then, or now CCH. The only thing it doesn't export is the ledgers and the tax returns, but that will actually help you and support you to transition across.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can comment on that. Yeah, the last major piece of software to get in the cloud is the tax returns. So once that's in place, it's like the icing on the cake. In terms of our old software, we'll probably just keep one license or one seat of that, so that we can look at historical stuff.
Yes.
And from what I know, they can't stop you from doing that. So Yeah.
Another question from Kaylin. I heard zero practice management is okay for sole trader practices, but not really ready for a large practice, maybe with 25 to 30 staff. How have you found it for your own office, Jamie?
Yeah, well, we've got about 15 staff, so hasn't been an issue speed-wise or any other way. So whether it gets bigger than that, if you've got an issue, I haven't heard anything, but it works fine for us. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all you can relate to. That's great. Yeah, Mark's got another question. Some of his biggest clients are not going to fit the smaller accounting packages that are generally in the cloud. So you have some in and some out, and I'm not sure if that's sufficient. And it's an open-ended statement as a question, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's probably related to what I said earlier, John. Like we have got some clients, up to 10 million turnover, and they're not on zero. So it's that 80-20 rule, because the programs that they use will be really industry specific, and often they're foreign driven programs as well. So yeah, it's the 80-20 rule. So those type of clients, the bigger clients that the chap mentioned.
And that's an excellent point. It's too easy to get distracted by the one big client or a recalcitrant client doesn't treat us well, or they're outside the box, aren't they? It's just realising that we're talking about getting the 80% right, because that's going to get you guys freed up to actually go and add more value.
Yeah. And I just want to point out on that, not everyone's going to move on to cloud. Not every client's going to, and as Jamie said, we've got clients that are using things like micronets or Cybears, but what we've actually managed to do is to work with them and give them a list of specifications that if we are going to work together and add more value to you, this is what we would like to see. And they'll go back to their bookkeeper or their internal accountant or whatever it is and just guide them on our specifications. So that's how we create efficiency without using the cloud for these industry-specific software packages that our clients use.
Fantastic. Interesting question from Brendan. With going to the cloud, how is the best way to sell packaging of options to existing clients? Because new clients, we're a bit more confident, aren't we?
Yes, yeah.
Now, what about our existing clients?
Yeah, it's a good question. With existing clients, you've really got to look at what you're already charging them. And what we've found is we don't necessarily change the price. Often we'll build the subscription into what they've already been paying. But what you'll find is because you're simply streamlining their books, because you've got a live feed on their bank account or whatever, you've got them in the cloud, you'll pick up that cost straight away. So you'll actually have the same client but making more profit out of them on the same price.
I could extend on Brendan's question. How much easier is the preparation for the annual tax return once you've moved that client over? Yeah,
well, that's a good point. That's the other thing. With us, we've got zero ledgers, so because the client uses zero, we've got a single ledger, which we're already using at the moment, and you do just get, you get a lot of efficiency when you go to prepare the financial statements because it's in a single ledger.
And even with us with CCH, and going probably back to Jeffrey's question about how CCH links with zero, from our ledger's point of view, all our clients that are on zero, we just export everything to an Excel spreadsheet, and it uploads straight into the ledger. So there's no coding. Zero coding. Beautiful. It's just straight. It's just straight in, and all the transactions are there itemised. So, but yeah, with current clients, it's always daunting in the beginning when you're trying to approach them with new services or zero or the cloud. But I guess it comes down to knowing your client, and the fact that you're going out there to talk to them about making their business better, how to get them more efficient, and how you can work better with them. Which client won't actually appreciate that? Yeah,
that's a great point. So in other words, we tend to do that. We tend to worry too much about how we're going to come across because we're a bit distracted by the selfish motive that's on our side. But in truth, we know that there's a value gain for the client, and you've really got to focus on that until you've got your Dutch courage up, and and then once you've experienced it, they give you a positive reaction. You're not going to worry about it, right?
Absolutely, and clients long for us. They do. They don't get enough of us. And if you were to survey and run a survey on every client, I think that the number one complaint would be that I can't get you don't return my phone calls, you don't return my emails. If clients actually have left, why have they left? Chances are you might not have serviced them properly. Clients want service. Mm-hmm. They do, and if we embrace all this, we can grow without buying fees.
Well said. And what we've been talking about in our best practice program right across the country this month is clients are dying for you to show up. Whether it's your existing clients, and then it means show up proactively with solutions and recommendations, or whether it's new prospects that aren't being served well elsewhere. That's so true.
And with new clients, you could probably just ask them, why did you leave your current accountant? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. Mm. And they've left because they're not getting the service, and they've come to you for more service or better service.
Yeah, right. I've got a really great question from Louise. Did you use it, Jamie? Did you use a third party to assist in implementing WorkflowMax? Now, before you answer that, I also want to remind you this would be a good time to make reference that you're possibly going to offer yourself as a consultant to other accountants to make that move, right?
Yeah, that's right, John. Yeah. Look, we used a firm to help us move to WorkflowMax. I think Xero has 3 or 4 what they call implementation partners. What we've found is because we've done one office and now another office, we've done it ourselves. We're actually the guys in our work are actually going to package up and offer other accountants to help them move to WorkflowMax as well, because I think, as I sort of said, we know we've done it. We're actually doing it every day, and using it every day. So so we're happy to help anyone out there who.
And what have you migrated from in the 2 different locations?
Yeah, what we went from, we've gone from MYOB Classic, which is the one that's stopping at June, to WorkflowMax, and then our Ballarat office did MYOB AO, which is the next, Enterprise, I think they call it. So we went from that to Xero.
Great. So repetition's the mother of skill. You've done it twice over in 2 different locations, so now you really understand it. So that might be helpful for someone like Louise who's thinking about a move. Yeah. And I just want to say hi to Ross. Ross is in Geelong, and he mentions in his commentary here that he's in the process of transferring from Solution 6 to Xero. And that's an old, now on my old platforms are the old Sol 6, and that might be the old AO, I reckon, accountant's office. AE. And so going well. We've moved across from the old BGL class for super funds as well. Found a savings of 30 to 50%, says Ross. Right, that's a massive savings, but 30 to 50% on the SMSFs, including the cost of the cloud connection. So that's pretty impressive. Moving across on that software, right, from the old BGL to class, right? So Dino has got a comment here. Thanks, Ross from Geelong. Nice to hear from you, mate. Dino, we started using Xero 1 to 2 years ago, but now we found Xero is much slower than it used to be, and now we're a little concerned about recommending it to our clients. Do you have the same experience? And I'm just wondering, is that Xero for accounting versus Xero for SME, Dino? That'd be interesting to know as well. But so maybe Dino could add a bit of depth to that comment. But in terms of, in the meantime, that question, how have you found Xero from a speed point of view for SME?
I haven't seen a problem with it at all. So, not sure about what's happened there. But,
I think personally, I've logged in. I run a number of our entities on Xero, not all of them, but most of them. And we, when I've logged in remotely on my laptop from a remote location, whereby I might only have 2 bars of phone signal on my SIM card data file for the laptop, then fundamentally Xero can be a bit slow. So I think maybe it's important, Dino, to understand that an internet-driven software system means that where you are, it's important to have good internet. And for example, Amir in here and myself, we've been, and my team, we've been working on it, constantly looking at our internet speed and our data capability, because we now need to broadcast events like this, so that's probably more of an issue necessarily than the behaviour of Xero as a,
That's right.
Thanks for your feedback, Kaylan. Good session. Been one of the best Kaylan's been to, so thank you for that. I'd certainly like to thank Phillip and Jamie. They've made considerable sacrifices to their whole day today to come along and help us with this. So thank you so much, guys, for that. There'll be some brownie points and bonus points for them, won't there, Amir, before they go? We've got some goodies there somewhere. It's a bit like the old Channel 7 footy show with Lou Richards, the old days, you know, you leave with the Huttons footy franks and a few handball competition, a few things like that. So, look, thank you everybody from around Australia and New Zealand and offshore that have actually logged in today. We appreciate your attendance today. If you've got any questions, by all means, don't hesitate to send an email back to us and let us know. We'll follow those through with you. And also, don't forget that there are some really exciting CPD compliant webinars and workshops, live workshops I'll be attending and running about 3 hours long each across Australia this month. They're back up on screen, I think, any moment now. And we'll leave them up to finish the session. And we want to thank you again for your time. And don't be a stranger. Send us a question if you've got one. And hopefully we'll see you somewhere around the country in a discovery workshop. If you quote this event, they do have a cost. If you quote this event when you want to register for a discovery workshop, I'll give you this little promo. For those there's very few of you perhaps still on at this point in the day, but we will give you a $100 discount if you come to a discovery workshop off the price if you quote that you got that tip from me in this webinar today. So thank you so much for your time and have a great month if we don't see you soon.